Hey there! I'm back with another Procreate tutorial. I've already taught you how to create a stamp brush, so this time we are going to learn how to create a real rubber stamp. We won't carve it, that would be too much work for the design I have in mind. We are going to design it and order it online instead. Many people think the hardest part is to get a brilliant idea. I think the hardest part is to materialize a brilliant idea. In any case, we have to start somewhere, and I think the first thing we need to know is what we are going to use the stamp for. Are you going to use it to sign your artworks? Are you going to use it on the exterior of the envelopes and packages that you are going to send to your customers? Do you want to keep it simple and, for example, create a logo with your name? Or just the opposite, you want to add much more info about you or your business? Keeping in mind all of that, how big do you think it needs to be? We can have problems if we create a very intricate design for a very small stamp. Lines and gaps should have a minimum width to be curved successfully. The higher the resolution, the better. Our file should be at least 300 dpi, but 600 dpi would be ideal. Lines should be crisp and clean. We'll try the line width isn't less than 6 pixels. We'll try to avoid unwanted background noises or stray pixels. We will also try to avoid superfluous white space. Don't create a huge canvas and then make a tiny design on the center. Your design should have the correct dimensions. We will use only one color, pure black. When we use a stamp, we just have positive space, which is the inked part, and negative space, which is the white space. We have nothing in between. So inked or not inked? That's the question when designing a stamp, okay? These are general requirements, but the shop you are going to place your order through may have more. It's also important to know the sizes and the type of stamps available in advance, so I recommend checking that before start designing anything. I'm going to use No Issue because I want to support eco-friendly companies. Our oceans don't need more plastic, right? Plus, they also plant a tree each time we make an order. Isn't it an awesome contribution to our planet? Well, let's take a look at the options available for stamps. In this case, we can choose among 3 different sizes, and between manual and self-inking. Basically, the difference between manual and self-inking is that the manual requires a separate ink pad, and we have to press the rubber stamp into the ink before each impression, while the self-inking stamp has an ink pad inside. Let me lock this to take the pads out so you can see it. We can even see the impression on the pad. Let's put it back and, well, basically the stamp's impression rotates in and out of the ink pad each time we use it. Which one should we choose? Well, both have pros and cons, so that depends on how you are going to use them. For example, manual stamps allows us to use pads of different colors, and with self-inking stamps we can get more uniform impressions and are easier to carry. The sizes available are different for manual and self-inking. I already have a signature logo stamp, so this time I'm going to create a more detailed design to use on packaging. I'll choose the bigger stamp available, which is 80 mm by 80 mm. We can create an 80 by 80 mm canvas in Procreate, but I don't recommend doing this because we will be creating an image of about this size. And that's pretty small. Keep in mind that Procreate is a raster app, not vector-based, so we won't be able to enlarge it successfully if we need to use our illustration for other products. It's better safe than sorry, so we will create a large canvas. Mine will be 6000 by 6000 pixels and 600 dpi, and we will learn later how to quickly get a smaller image for our stamp, okay? Now we need an idea, right? I want this to represent me and what I do. So I will draw a cartoon and better version of me, why not, holding an iPad and an Apple Pencil. And to spice this up, I am going to make some elements come out of my Apple Pencil. Let's work a little bit on that smile and draw a beautiful long hair. I told you that this was going to be a better version of me, so I changed my frizzy hair for these nice and smooth hair locks. Well, as you see, overlapping locks of hair add depth to our portrait illustrations. Once the sketch is done, the next step is to start inking on a different layer. Create a new layer, rename it, ink, pick black, and decrease the opacity of the sketch layer. We need to choose a brush keeping in mind the type of lines we want to create. If we want to create lines of the same width, we should choose a monoline or a fine liner brush. Using a monoline brush allows us to better control the minimum width of the line, so it is unlikely that we have any problems with the carving process. I want to be able to modify the width of the line with pressure, so I'm going to use a pressure-sensitive brush, just because I like the outlines better this way. The result is totally different, see? Okay, inking time! Inking is fun, but if you are a beginner and you are using pressure-sensitive brushes, it can be frustrating because if we don't choose the right size for the brush, it can be difficult to control the amount of pressure applied. So, a little trick is to practice first and decrease the size of the brush until it matches with the maximum pressure we will apply. The line work is done. If we send the design at this point, the white space will be carved away and only the lines would stay. So this is exactly how our design would look each time we used the stamp. We can easily turn our positive space into negative space and vice versa by tapping on invert and changing the background color to black. Now the outlines would be carved away and the rest will remain untouched. Both designs are a bit boring, right? What I recommend doing is to play around with positive and negative spaces. Not all the lines have to be positive space and not all the empty spaces should be negative space. There are several ways to play around with this without messing with our design. One option is to duplicate the ink layer, just to have a backup, and use the reference tool to fill the gaps on a different layer. Actually, we can fill in the gaps on different layers. This way we can turn the visibility of the layers on and off and see the version we prefer. Let's delete this. The other option is to keep the background layer untouched and duplicate it each time we want to create a new version. Let's turn off reference, we don't need it in this case. and we will simply fill in the gaps in the same layer. So, if we want to create another version, we just need to duplicate the backup layer. And fill other areas. This is just an example, but when filling the gaps, you will probably find this problem: missing lines. How do we fix this? Well, tapping on the backup layer with 2 fingers to select its content, then go into the ink layer and simply using the eraser, easy peasy, right? Okay, this is almost done. I just want to add my website here. So I am going to go to Sketch Layer, pick blue, the same brush I used for sketching, and also I am going to go to Canvas and turn on Drawing Guide to help me draw the text curved. This is the perspective mode. You need to go to Edit Drawing Guide, then tap on Perspective, and finally tap on the center of the illustration to make all the guidelines converge there. Don't forget to tap on Done to exit the edit mode. I need more guidelines, so I will create a new layer and draw a circle. Remember that if we wait at the end, we will create a perfect ellipse, and if we place a finger on the screen, the shape will snap into a perfect circle. Let's use the Transform tool to center it. Now duplicate the layer and make the circle larger using the Transform tool again. Let's tidy this a little bit. And write down whatever you want. In this case, my website. New layer. Black. I am going to ink this using my fine liner brush. Let's turn off the visibility of all the layers we no longer need. We can even turn off the drawing guide just to see the final design better. Now we are going to create a smaller image for our stamp in 3 simple steps. First step, 3 fingers downwards and tap on Copy All. Second step, exit to the gallery and create a new canvas with the required dimensions. In my case, 80 by 80 millimeters and 600 dpi. Third step, 3 fingers downwards again and tap on Paste. That's it! Now, if we exit to the gallery, we have 2 files, the small and the large one. We just need to save the image. Now, go to the shop you've chosen and upload the image. Just in case you are an eco-friendly person like me and want to use this site, I will walk you through the process, okay? This is quite easy. We have already chosen the size, type and quantity, so let's tap on Design Now. Design Now again, and now we just have to upload our image. I save it in the photo library. Here it is. And now Use. Adjust the image. and make sure you are not touching the dashed outline or a part of your design will be cropped, okay? Finally, choose the color of the ink pad. I'll choose black. Place your order and wait eagerly for it to arrive at home. It has arrived! So excited to see it! Let's see how it looks. I don't know if you can see the design. Anyway, I'm going to take it out, if it wants to, now. Let's take out the ink pad. Ink pad. Let's put this together. And now the moment of truth. I think I am not very good with manual stamps, which is why I prefer self-inked stamps. But I'll do my best. If you have any tips, feel free to leave a comment, okay? What I do is to place the stamp on the paper and then push in the center to apply even pressure to the entire stamp and avoid rocking. Well, I think it looks great. What do you think? If you create a stamp, don't forget to share it with me on Instagram. I will love to see it. That's all for now. See you in the next tutorial. Bye!